Our next speaker is someone who is a dear friend of mine, a well-known activist in the community, Ms. Safeeyah Moosa. She is very much involved in women's empowerment issues and has been for many years, and has actually trained professionally in the area of various professional forms of therapy. She is a metaphysical empowerment counselor and life coach, a journey consultant and journey practitioner, and is an internationally accredited master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. So we're going to hear from someone who is really well versed in the area of therapy and dealing with issues related to abuse and violence. And I invite Safeeyah Moosa to please address us. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I really am very grateful that I've been honored with an invitation to be here. I have to appreciate what you said, but I'm going to kind of disagree. That all those credentials mean nothing in terms of understanding what's really in this book. Matters like abuse, I think the experts are the ones who go through them. And as much as we encounter it from a distance, it can never be the same as someone who has been through it, experiences it firsthand, whether you are a child witnessing it or a member of the family witnessing it, or the person who is the victim, or in fact, the person who's the perpetrator. Because no perpetrator wants to be the perpetrator. And there are a lot of issues that bring about this kind of abuse, but those are things you can find out for yourself. You know how to find out why things happen. What's important is that they do happen. And one of the most frightening things is to realize, as a community here in South Africa, made up of so many different cultures and racial backgrounds, that it permeates through all the cultures. This kind of social rawness of abuse and what happens in the home. And I have to so agree with what the professor said. Dr. Collins was so right in that these are things that are kept private, and yet they're the most relevant things. I think it's really frightening when the person or people that you think are there to protect you are actually the people that are putting your life in danger. And that is quite an experience for the person who's going through it. But it doesn't stop there. What's really relevant here is that if a person or a couple of people in the family are supposed to be those that protect you and they're not, and in fact they're making you feel that your life is in danger in some way or harming you in some way, then is it only their responsibility to be your protector? It goes beyond that. It goes beyond the home. While individuals and families that make up a home, if there's a harmony in the home, if there's a balance in the relationship, and there's a wholesome, healthy relationship, we then have a healthy community. Then your community becomes a healthy nation, a healthy country, and it has a ripple effect. So it starts from the confines of the home where this has to be addressed. And what is sad, as was mentioned earlier, is this is left sidelined and public matters are addressed, and more as an observation. Now, if you need to turn to someone to protect you, whose responsibility is it? The reality is that responsibility belongs to all of us. We have platforms such as this. This happens to be a book launch, but it is a platform. What about the pulpits in the churches and the mosques? Why are these matters not being addressed directly? Because they can be used to influence a change. Everyone needs help. It's the victim and the perpetrator that needs help. In fact, the perpetrator may need more help, because then you're addressing the root cause of the problem. And these things can be addressed in platforms, and I think they're neglected very badly. And I have to congratulate and pay tribute to Shafinaaz, who really, besides having the courage to write a story like this, it gives permission for those things to happen. It gives permission to bring this out into the open in a way that's not invasive. It's a story, but it's real. You can pretend it's fiction even though you know the facts are there. And it's an easier way to gently ease people into having permission to discuss these things. You have a discussion at a book launch about abuse. You pretend it's not yours. I have to tell you, I could identify with a lot of what was in the book. And I'm not probably the only one. There's probably hundreds and thousands of people who could identify with aspects of this book. And it's not confined to just women. It's confined to people. And the fact that this kind of permission is given through a book to raise these issues is really quite a complimentary thing. And coming from a woman who's doing this, that's really a bold step. And like I said, but it's not just about women, it's about people. So congratulations to her for that. I can't resist telling you about this book because I have the same experiences as Dr. Collins in that I was given the book a couple of days earlier and I thought, okay, I'll start reading it and read a few chapters over a few days. I started at 10:30 one night and I think around 4 o'clock I suddenly realized I'd come to the end of the book. I looked at the watch and I said, oh. And time was irrelevant at that point. I had no idea I had just gone right through the whole thing. It was riveting. It was the most incredible story. And if you're expecting to read a really morose book about really horrible incidents of abuse and knowing the horror stories of somebody's life, well then you're going to be disappointed. Because while it opens all of that up, it's not a story about that. There's something I can't resist telling you also, and that is something that intrigued me about the book. When I looked at the title, I assumed the main character or one of the lead characters would have that name. And then you get into the story, and then you get more into the story, and then you're right into the thick of the story, and then you're in the middle of the story, and there's no sign of Safhia anywhere. And yet, the most amazing, and this is just about the literary style, the actual talent of the writing of this book, whatever the topic was. It was incredible that Safhia was actually the pulse throbbing, the way we have a pulse under our skin. It was throbbing throughout the story. It was there underlying. It was not visible, but it was going on all the time. And then towards the end, when you suddenly realize, when it's all revealed, which I'm not going to tell you what it was all about, it is incredible. It is incredible how it was woven into the story, how it was the heartbeat of the entire story, and how it kind of, and if you think it threads the whole story together, no. All it does is it rips your mind apart, but in the most beautiful of ways. Your mind will do somersaults over beliefs and ideas that you've had. Be prepared for it. There was a part of this book that I found reminded me of a poem about Rumi, and there's an underlying current of Sufism reference to it in the book. There is a reference to a poem by Rumi. I know Shafinaaz and I both share a deep love for the writings of Rumi, and there's one that I remember, but the book reminded me of this. And Rumi writes, he said, who was he that said, the immortal spirit is dead? How dare he say, hope sunlight has passed away? An enemy of the sun, standing his roof upon, bound both his eyes and then claimed, lo, the sun dies. And really what the whole poem is about is we shut our eyes to things and then we blame the sunlight for dying on us. And this book is actually a whole literary story of that entire poem. And it was just so beautifully done. There's another aspect that I just want to hint at in this book that really took it beyond the level of just a book about that's based on abuse. And that is, it wasn't just about a feel-good, about a hopeful story of an abuse situation or just exposing what it is. It was more than that. In that, it offers you an opportunity to take your perspective on this in such a different way. And it was so cleverly done. It was masterfully done, and I congratulate her on her writing style because that was exquisite. There is a cliched saying, you know, where they say, oh, you know, you embark on a journey and this will take you on a journey. And I'm not intending this in any cliched way, but seriously, Safhia, you will begin a journey when you start the book, but it doesn't end on the last line of the last chapter. In fact, it doesn't even end with the story. All I can tell you is read it if you dare, because it's incredible. It wakes your mind up to a million permutations that you never knew existed about a social issue like this. So enjoy it. I know you're going to.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Safhia. I think if you are wanting a really outstanding testimony to the book, you know, that was it. And it is an amazing book. Speaking of testimonies, if you buy the book and read the front cover,